I am concerned by what I see going forward. I mean, if you look forward 10 years' time, lithium will be a massive part of all our lives. It already is. It's in your iPhone, it's in your electric car. But what's coming is the fact that lithium-ion batteries are used to not only stabilize the grid, but also to store renewable power, such as wind and solar, which is intermittent. Without those batteries, really, it's virtually impossible to have sustainable power.
Welcome to this week's Leaders on a Mission, where we explore the journeys of visionary leaders driving impactful change. And today I'm really excited to speak with Jeremy Wrathall, CEO and founder of Cornish Lithium, a really highly innovative British mineral exploration company focused on sustainable extraction of lithium and other battery metals in Cornwall in the UK. Now, as key enablers of the key energy transition, these metals are critical to the future of renewable energy, storage and electric vehicles. And the journey is a really interesting one. And we'll explore that during this call, and we'll understand more about Cornish Lithium's sustainable approach and their pivotal role in shaping the UK's green economy. So, Jeremy, thanks so much for taking the time today. Really good to talk with you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this.
Excellent. So I would love to explore, the career journey with you a little bit further, actually. So I'm just curious, can you share a little bit about your journey and really, I suppose, what inspired you to found Cornish Lithium?
Okay, well, I think my journey really stems from a conversation I had with my father when I was thinking about what to do at university. And he said, I don't know what to suggest to you. You love digging holes in the ground, you love geology, you love engineering, and you love explosives. So I shouldn't really mention that. But and he said, you should do mining. And I'm forever in his debt for that, because that was absolutely right. It combined everything I loved. In fact, I've been digging holes in the ground, and there's a photo of me digging a well in my garden when I was 7 years old. So it's a long journey, and it's ironic that a lot of the lithium that we'll be extracting actually comes from water wells in the ground. So then my journey really started with going to the Camborne School of Mines in Cornwall, a place most people have never even heard of, but it is one of the premier mining and mineral extraction universities in the world. It's a part of the University of Exeter. And then I went to work in South Africa on the gold mines for a few years, and then went into investment banking, which is really where I acquired a lot of the skills necessary to do what I've done. So I was privileged to head up the mining teams for people like UBS, Deutsche Bank, Investec, and was privileged to travel all around the world looking at mines of just about every single type of commodity you can imagine. And really that gave me the knowledge of the industry, the knowledge of commodities, very important, and the knowledge of financing mechanisms and finance, which I have used to create Cornish Lithium and to chart our successful journey so far.
Yeah, no, great. Well, listen, I was going to say with Cornish Lithium, I get the richness in history, in the mining space. But 2016, co-founding a company, very different. I suppose most people with the career you have were probably just starting to take it a little bit easy, really, right? So you thought just the opposite, did you?
I did. I think that I knew that, I was at the peak of my career, basically, and so sometimes it's a bit crazy, but you've got to do what you've got to do. I was walking to work one day thinking about electric vehicles and how I felt that they were really going to make a huge difference to all our lives. We've got to give up burning stuff. We've got to stop climate change. And, what's the one thing that batteries, not just car batteries, but power storage batteries need? It's lithium. And I remembered one very dark February morning walking to work and thinking, what was that my friend mentioned years before about lithium in Cornwall? So I Googled it and found that there were extensive records of lithium being found in the old tin mines, not in the mines themselves, but in the water that was flowing into those mines. They analysed them as far back as 1864, a long, long time ago, and found they were rich in lithium. That's what really gave me the start. And I suddenly thought I talked to my father-in-law, talked to everybody, and said, "Look, I've got this crazy idea about starting a company. Should I do it?" And I even mentioned it to my bosses at work, and they said, "Look, by all means, you can start the company, but please don't leave." And then I stayed with it for another year, and then the company was really taking off, and I decided to leave, which was a brave or foolish move, because it was a significant diminution in my income, but a huge increase in my personal satisfaction and life purpose.
Yeah, no, awesome. So, what the journey you mentioned was, around these lithium, deposits and the lithium in the wastewater, as it were. Was the sustainability angle in terms of how you were to extract them in the future, was that a driver at that time as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's pointless extracting a mineral unsustainable. So a mineral which is essential for the energy transition unsustainably. That's not a good idea. So really, what I learned in my early journey was that you could extract lithium from these geothermal waters using a new technology, which is very much in its infancy at the time, called direct lithium extraction, or DLE as it's shortened to, which is now mainstream in the world. That was 7 years ago. It wasn't. But that is done in a very sustainable basis. You drill a drill hole into the fluid-bearing structure. You suck the water up to surface. You put it through what's essentially a giant Brita water filter, which is selectively extracts the lithium, and you put it underground again. But you also extract a lot of heat from the water. The water's hot, and you can use that heat for decarbonizing industry such as dairies, breweries, that type of thing, which is what we're actively working on. So really, the sustainability was important and still is important. And in our other type of mining, which we're also going to be mining lithium from rock itself, following a conversation in 2017 when somebody phoned me up and said, "Look, I'm an ex-person who used to work at the British Geological Survey. Did you know there was a lithium mine during World War II in Cornwall?" And of course, I didn't know that. And we started testing it. The point of this is that even though that is going to be digging a hole in the ground, it's only going to be a deepening an existing hole. There's already a China clay pit there. We're going to be deepening that. And really, the environmental footprint is no bigger. And it's going to be processed using a very environmentally friendly processing method as well, which we are demonstrating as we speak. We just built a £9 million demonstration plant to prove that technology, and really very exciting. So yes, environment and social responsibility is extremely important to me as a person.
Got it. Is that like the differential with Cornish Lithium as a company compared to other mining companies? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that in terms of, your the problems that you solve, and maybe we'll go down that road.
Sure. I think it is. I mean, lithium at the moment is mainly extracted from a rock mineral called spodumene, which mainly occurs in Australia or Canada. And that mineral is then roasted to 1,000 degrees centigrade. The only way of doing that is with fossil fuels, gas, coal. And really, that is not the most environmentally friendly method. So we are trying to build a technology, using a technology which does not use roasting, and therefore allows us to extract it in a very environmentally friendly way, and build a new industry for the UK, which gives us security of supply of this really critical metal.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. No, great. And so tell us a little bit about some of the main milestones, right? You've been, you founded the business in 2016. I know you guys have made tremendous progress. What have been the key milestones achieved?
I think the main milestones, Simon, have been funding milestones and discovery milestones. And really the funding is absolutely critical to any company with a mission. Because you can't really do much unless you've got, well, in our case, we don't have any revenue. We're not likely to have any revenue for a couple of more years. And therefore, you're reliant on raising the funding from shareholders. Now, I first financed it myself and then moved on to raising money from angel investors. The next milestone was actually to do something which is a little bit considered crazy, which is crowdfunding. Now, I had never I would, as an investment banker, sort of thought, I'm not sure about crowdfunding, but actually it worked very, very well for us because we had so many people write to us and ask if they could invest. And we said, no, you can't invest, it's too risky. And then we found a mechanism. We were looking for a mechanism where they could invest because people were beginning to say, look, it's not fair, we want to invest. And we found that crowdfunding was regulated by the FCA, therefore it was something that I could embrace. We raised our first crowdfunding in 2017 or so, 2018, I can't remember now. A huge success. We've gone on to raise more money from crowdfunding. Our second crowdfunding sold out in about 20 minutes. Fantastic, raised a lot of money there. And then the next window was to really raise money from institutional funding. We raised money from a company called TechMet, which is a specialty fund investing into transition metals, critical renewable, metals that go into the energy transition. And then finally, the big milestone was our funding that was announced August last year, which was a $67 million raising with the Energy and Minerals Group out of Texas, the UK Infrastructure Bank, which is the UK government, and some more money from TechMet. But importantly, there's also another $210 million facility, which can be drawn down if they decide to draw it down. So really massive milestones in terms of funding, which is very, very hard to do. I mean, it really is, particularly when you've got a highly volatile commodity like lithium. Lithium prices all over the place. I'm glad we raised our funding when we did because lithium prices have been difficult right now. I personally think it's going to be a fantastic commodity in about 2-3 years' time, and everyone will look back and think they would wish they had invested in it. But at the moment, it's a bit dark, where the electric vehicles have slowed down somewhat in the West. So the other milestones are things like when we drilled our first drill hole, and this slightly crazy idea that we could drill into water-bearing structures with lithium in them was proved to be correct. It was a real seat of the pants moment where you think, is this going to work? But yes, it did. And, also the fact that we can now extract it, we proved that's a major technological breakthrough. And also building our demonstration plant for our hard rock project, which has just been completed. That's another major, major milestone for us. Yeah.
Awesome. It's been a fabulous journey. It really has been. And tell me, from a funding viewpoint, is the idea of the company really to serve the UK's kind of needs specifically for this critical mineral?
Absolutely, it is. I'm a Brit. I am concerned by what I see going forward. I mean, if you look forward 10 years' time, lithium will be a massive part of all our lives. It already is. It's in your iPhone, it's in your electric car. But what's coming is the fact that lithium-ion batteries are used to not only stabilize the grid, but also to store renewable power, such as wind and solar, which is intermittent. Without those batteries, really, it's virtually impossible to have sustainable power. So UK is behind the curve on this. Not so much in terms of renewable power. We're one of the world leaders in wind power, but we're behind the curve on batteries. China saw this coming many years ago and basically locked up all the lithium supply they could possibly get. And as a result, they control about 70+% of the world's lithium markets. Now, I think they're amazing. That's a hugely thing to be admired, but strategically, it puts the UK and the US and the EU at a very, very difficult position because they're totally dependent on China. China could be an unfriendly power going forwards. Who knows? We've obviously seen a big wake-up call with Russian invasion of Ukraine. What happens if China invaded Taiwan or whatever like that? We would be left extremely vulnerable to the materials that we need for the energy transition, and hence to develop a domestic supply of lithium when you've got it on your doorstep is something that I'm very keen to do. I mean, if you're a country where there isn't any lithium, you've got no choice but to import it. But in the UK, if we have got it here, if we can produce it ourselves, it saves us importing. And the important thing about importing materials is if you import lithium, you're exporting the jobs and associated prosperity and security that goes with that. So I feel very passionately that if we can do this, we should do.
And what kind of what are the challenges maybe when you think about lithium exploration and extraction in the UK? Historically, for instance, because I've always heard it's so difficult and so costly to extract the lithium. That was always the challenge, right?
I think that it is costly, but the world needs an increasing supply, as I mentioned about electric vehicles and about power battery storage. That's going to mean that we move from a supply of around 1 million tonnes at the moment, 1.2 million tonnes, to over 3 million tonnes by 2030. It's a huge amount that we're going to need. And therefore, we've got to secure that supply. And I think the cost, there is a cost element to it for sure. And I think the main challenges with exploring is securing the finance, the people who actually will only go with you on the journey. Partly because they want to obviously get a return, and partly because they see the same issues that I do with the security of supply issue. Lithium exploration is difficult. It is by nature cutting edge. What we're doing with our brine extraction is become rapidly mainstream. Companies like Exxon have invested in lithium extraction from brine, biggest oil company in the world. Equinor, out of the Norwegian state company, has invested in lithium in brine. And so really I was considered to be an absolutely crazy lunatic before.
Really?
But no, absolutely, for sure. Which is why we were so successful in picking up a lot of mineral rights, which is important in the UK. And on our hard rock side, where we extracted lithium from rock itself, again, this was considered to be, black magic in many ways, because it wasn't extracting from, as I said, spodumene, that other mineral, but the extraction of lithium from a mineral called mica. Now, the Chinese have built a huge industry based on extraction from mica, and therefore I'm not regarded as a lunatic anymore. So suddenly technology has caught up. It was more, actually quite a visionary thing to do in hindsight. It felt incredibly risky at the time, but it was the right thing to do. And the challenges are, exploration. You've got to get as much data as you can. The challenges in the UK are mineral rights. Mineral rights are owned privately. How do you even start, negotiating with Lord so-and-so or whoever it is who owns those mineral rights? Well, we are very lucky that we've established a fantastic reputation in Cornwall amongst people who do own those mineral rights. We've secured over 600 square kilometres onshore and 400 square kilometres offshore from the Crown Estate. And that was be a massive challenge. The other thing is challenges within the community. Now, the really interesting thing is anywhere else in the UK, and particularly Europe, you will get a lot of potential opposition. Cornwall has a long and proud mining past of tin mining, copper mining, and therefore there is a natural curiosity and welcoming of mineral extraction projects but you can't take that for granted. You've got to be very careful. We are very, very careful of our social license to operate. We make sure that we inform the community. And if the community doesn't want a particular drill hole in that area, we simply wouldn't drill there. We would drill somewhere else. We've got the ability to be flexible. So I think there are lots of challenges. I think have done a very good job so far. As soon as we put a foot wrong, we will have problems. But so far, we've not had any real opposition whatsoever.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, it really is. Tell me, it's curious. You mentioned about the fluctuation and the price of lithium. How, and no doubt it just relates very much to, the EV kind of car sales and forecast, does it? Is that what it tracks, essentially?
Broadly speaking, yes. And obviously, electric vehicles have taken a bit of a hiccup in the West. In China, they're still growing very strongly. And in fact, in Hong Kong last month, electric vehicles reached over 80% penetration maybe even 90% penetration in Hong Kong of car sales. So we are seeing a general slowdown in car sales, not just electric vehicles, but electric vehicles have suffered in the West a little bit. But what's really interesting is the rise of big power storage batteries. Tesla have put in, I believe, about 90 gigawatts of power storage batteries this year alone, which is equivalent to about 2 million electric vehicles. Massive increase in that. And that's expected to continue. So, but the lithium price, yes, it has tracked to some extent the adoption of electric vehicles. But what happened was the lithium price went from $6,000 to $82,000 a ton, which is the only more volatile commodity is oil, which is
over what time period?
Over 2 years.
Okay.
Massive, right.
What kind of years? What kind of years? Roughly.
That was 2019 to 2022.
Right, okay.
And of course, when you get $82,000 a ton, every lithium project in the world is highly profitable.
Yeah.
People were digging it up in their garden in Africa, whatever. And it flooded into China, resulted in an oversupply. Then we had a bit of a slowdown in electric vehicles. And of course, the price comes crashing back down again. But the problem is with that is that was building momentum for the next bull market, because you're going to get no new projects financed, you're going to get no expansions of projects, and that's exactly what's already happening. And that starts to build, because we do need those mines to be built right now, so they come on stream ready for 2030, which is where that huge increase in demand really kicks in.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So what is the price now, roughly, if it went up to 82,000?
It's about $10,000-$12,000 a ton.
12,000. Yeah. Okay. Does that make it more? I know you mentioned about financing, and you got your financing sorted last year, as it were. But when you think about kind of commercialization over the next few years and bringing this to the market, is it important to have off-takers, for instance? Because it's clear it's going to be expensive, right, for you to compete with that price, I would have thought at the moment, sure. Right? So, how does that work?
It is important, Simon. So last year we saw, 2022, we saw a feeding frenzy amongst the automotive industry, who were worried the price is going through the roof. They need to lock in offtake deals, which they did with a number of potential suppliers. With what happened, it's going to make those supply agreements very difficult to keep. Fortunately, we did not lock in any offtake agreements with battery makers or electric vehicle providers. We've still got that in our back pocket. We did the financing. We're well financed, and things are looking good to go forward. Thank goodness we did the deal when we did. Timing's everything, as they say.
Yeah.
But now it is exceptionally difficult. The automakers have caught a cold. I realise that they rushed in too quickly. That sort of financing is not around anymore. In fact, it's very difficult to finance lithium mines, full stop, right now. It's just lucky that we have that finance in place.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Very volatile marketplace, as you said, right? It's
crazy. but fortunately, I've seen this before. I've been a commodities analyst and student all my professional life, and I've seen it before. This is, the seeds of the next bull market are sown in a price of just, when everyone else is despairing, and that's the time to invest.
So you think, just a little prediction for you over the next 5 years or so, then, in terms of how this market will pay out?
I think that the next 2 years are going to be quite lackluster, put it that way. I think the price will recover a little bit, but I think the prices will go up to, by 2028, 29, you're going to see prices well above $20,000 a ton, and then moving up from 25 to $30,000 a ton by the time it becomes apparent that we desperately need this lithium. Climate change is getting worse, and we need to focus on renewable energy ever more. We need to really refocus on the renewable energy and power generation.
Yeah. Okay. No, great. No, thank you so much for that.
But I need to say, don't take my word for it. Do your own research.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Your advice comes with some risk,
It does
essentially,
indeed.
right? Yeah,
It's not advice; it's my own personal view, but
yeah.
that's what I have to say.
Yeah, got it. Tell me, what about in terms of like the scale of your operations, right? Give me some kind of context in terms of, the size and, how many people you have working there.
At the moment, we've got about 100 staff working for us, split across our hard rock operation and our brine operations, and obviously our support functions like accounting and law, everything else. Um, our production will be hopefully starting in 2027 from our hard rock project, 2027, our Trelava hard rock project. That will be around 10,000 tons of lithium hydroxide a year. We could do lithium carbonate with one or the other, but we're focusing on hydroxide. That's what goes into high-end batteries. So that will be 10,000 tons a year for 20 years. And our brine projects, we are starting relatively small. We're about to start building next year, hopefully, our pre-production plant, which will be small scale but very modular. And we believe that we can build that plant up and we can then drill on different locations across Cornwall. We think this is a Cornwall-wide opportunity. We're currently drilling our 6th test drill hole, which is being tested right now. And if we can put modular sites across Cornwall in different locations, we believe that we could generate up to 15,000 tons of an additional lithium carbonate equivalent from Cornwall. So the total aspirational target by 2030 is 25,000 tons a year. Now, put it in context, the Agratas Tata Jaguar Land Rover battery factory that's being built in Somerset right now will need 40,000 tons of lithium carbonate by 2030, and we can provide a substantial part of that, we believe.
Got it. Okay. So, like really decent scale, in terms of, 25,000 tons by 2030.
That's the target. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And what about like in terms of, I suppose like for you, as founder, CEO, I suppose building the culture, right, of the company. Have you found, where have you hired people from, and is it different? I suppose a pre-revenue kind of startup that's relying on additional funding, external funding. Yeah, what are the challenges with that?
Well, there's plenty of challenges, and every single staff member we take on, we tell them, do you realize this is a non-revenue generating company? And therefore, it's not like working for Sainsbury's or something like that. But we have got a fantastic team of a lot of young people, a lot of young geologists who it's their absolute dream to work in Cornwall.
Yeah.
They can surf at the weekend or they can surf in the evening as well. So as long as the weather's good. So we've got lots of young, highly aspirational geologists and other staff who are getting absolutely cutting edge training. Yeah. I mean, this is an industry of the future. We have had no problem recruiting people whatsoever. The great thing is that the Camborne School of Mines is still operating where I said I went to when I first started my career. That's still operating. In fact, the graduates from the Camborne School of Mines are the highest paid graduates that come out of Exeter University, full stop. So, but we can hire people from Camborne School of Mines. We can hire them from other universities around the country. But we've got some really, really talented people. And the other thing is, you asked about building the culture. We have a no ego policy. I call it a no git policy. So we don't, if you've got an ego and you want to start throwing your weight around, please go and find another job or don't work for us. But though, because we take our responsibility locally very seriously, we don't want people who are shouting their mouth off or behaving aggressively in the local community. So we do take that very, very, very seriously. And it's been one of the real things I'm really, really proud of. And we can also see people's lives turn around, people who come to us who've been, had a very difficult work-life experience, we can see them blossom and come out of themselves. There's so many examples of that, which I'm very proud of.
Oh yeah, that must give you so much satisfaction and pleasure.
Massive.
Around that. And I suppose part of the attraction, in terms of attracting talent is being part of the energy transition. I'm wondering if you see this kind of real kind of need and desire for people that want to really have the impact in their careers.
Absolutely. People who want to change the world, people who want to be part of the energy transition, see that the future, see that the world is going away from burning stuff towards capturing renewable energy. That's a really exciting thing to be involved with. And that's what we see so many of our staff wanting to do. And I think they get greater satisfaction out of that. So, one of the things that I always say is, as a mining engineer or geologist as well, and I'm taking this interview from the Geological Society in London. So everyone says we're trying to save the planet. We're not. The planet will be absolutely fine. We just won't be on it. That's the point. That we've got to take climate change seriously, because the planet will get too hot and will completely eliminate the human race. It'll be fine itself, but we certainly don't want to see that happen. And we're getting lots of young people who really do see their life mission as trying to save humanity rather than save the planet, and to ameliorate or prevent further climate change. And we feel we're very much part of that story for our country, the UK.
No, that's fantastic. Is there just a couple of things on that? When you think about the UK and you think about other places in the UK, does this opportunity exist, in other parts of the UK as well?
Yes, there's also a company called Northern Lithium who are exploring for lithium in near Durham, and doing making some good progress there. And it really depends on the rocks containing lithium. They will also be extracting it from water, which has got lithium dissolved in it. But mainly, the main geological lithium endowment, as it were, is in Cornwall, and it goes into Devon as well. So that's where we're focused.
Okay, great. And just your sense of the UK. I mean, you mentioned as part of that last fundraise the kind of UK really getting involved. Just give us your sense on your understanding of the UK and their commitment towards kind of climate kind of change and climate tech.
I think that the UK is very serious about combating climate change. We've said that we would be carbon neutral by 2050. There's a lot more to be done there. The UK was late to the party with critical metals, which are needed to drive that energy transition. If you think, the energy transition will be driven by interaction between metals rather than burning things like oil and gas. So therefore, we need to secure those critical metals. And other countries woke up much, much more quickly than the UK did. Look, if you look at the US with the Inflation Reduction Act, that's a $330 billion amount of money to really tackle climate change, secure critical minerals. If you look at the EU came out with the Critical Minerals Act, which is now in power, really to secure those critical minerals for the technologies needed for renewable energy. The UK woke up a bit late, but actually has now woken up and really is taking this very, very seriously. And we're extremely grateful for the support that we see from the UK Infrastructure Bank in the latest funding. There is another announcement which is about to come out, which will show as well how seriously the UK is taking this, and particularly taking our programme. So we are really excited. We're seeing government committed to it. We're seeing the new government even more committed to it possibly than the last one. So really, we do need an industrial strategy in the UK, and part of that, or a big part of that, needs to be the metals of the future and the energy transition.
Yeah, no, got it. Jeremy, what do you think for you, like as a first-time CEO kind of founder, what's been the biggest challenge for you on this journey?
The biggest challenge is undoubtedly funding. It's as scary as hell.
Is it?
when you're in the valley of death, running out of cash, it is sleepless nights and massive challenges. But you've got to surround yourself with the right people. We've got a fantastic team. Our CFO Varshan is excellent. Our Chief Operating Officer Pat is fantastic, and those two really help me. A good board also that sees beyond the immediate challenges and helps you through. But the challenge, without doubt, and what keeps me awake at night, or did, is funding.
Got it. Well, now I'm sure there's something else to keep you awake at night, right? Now,
Plenty.
Yeah. Well, listen, I remember you saying it was something. I really got that sense with you. It was a challenging journey, right? Really difficult journey, and on that personal perspective, and just the thought of sleepless nights, and it doesn't always sit well, does it? It's a real kind of challenge.
And with me, it's I feel it's very much on my shoulders. I'm the founder. I'm the CEO. I'm the person who's done all this, and it really is on my shoulders. So I mean, sleepless nights. At the moment, not much is keeping me awake apart from excitement. Really, the way forward. I'm just so glad that we put the funding in place. I'm so glad that we put it in place with people who've got deep pockets and can see this thing through. So yeah, all good. So
Great.
far, so good.
Yeah, and great stuff. And look, Jeremy, thank you so much for sharing your insights, really your journey, your insights on the whole of the sustainable extraction of lithium and the role that Cornish Lithium is going to play in the energy transition, really. It's been a really interesting discussion. And so thanks so much for coming on and sharing that. And thanks to all our listeners for tuning in to this week's Leaders on a Mission. So we'll see you next time.